Hello everybody, welcome to the webinar covering the new ATO initiative of Single Touch Payroll. It's right on 1 o'clock and I can see that many users have already logged in, but we're just going to delay running through the slides for a couple of moments just to let a few more people log in. For those that don't know, my name is Roy Sanderson and I'm joined by Kat, who is an accountant and cloud technology advisor here with RJS. Today we'll be covering Single Touch Payroll, what it means for you, some tricks, how to handle it, how to set it up, and some options going forward. We're going to show you an example of how to handle Single Touch Payroll if you're in Xero or if you're in MyOb, and then some suggestions for those that aren't on computer packages at all. We hope to cover those topics off in around 15 minutes, and then we'll have Q&A, question and answer time available after that for whatever time is needed. Should you have a question at any stage while the webinar is in process, you can write it in the question and answer box, which you should see at the bottom of your screen, and we'll attend to these at the end of the session, or if we get an opportunity throughout, we'll talk through those questions. We're going to move on to the first slide. We've got about 90% of those that registered are now online. So feel free to type any questions you've got as we talk through this. So Single Touch Payroll, STP, is one-touch payroll initiative created by the ATO. It started officially on the 1st of July 2018 for any employers with greater than 20 staff members. However, from the 1st of July 2019, this year, it is compulsory to all employers. So if you pay wages, this is compulsory. This initiative involves frequent reporting of wages to the ATO instead of reporting once a year at the end of the financial year. This information, when you press the button to pay your staff, will be transferred to the ATO automatically with every pay run. So they will have pay records live. It's mandatory, compulsory, a little bit like what GST was when that was created. So we have to make sure that you are set up and running and operational by the 1st of July. As advised, instead of reporting once at the end of the financial year, you are now required to send information to the ATO and the MyGov account with every pay run. The MyGov account is actually accessed by your staff member. The information means that the live payroll information, gross, tax, and net wages, can be accessed by your staff member anytime throughout the year. Should you have unreliable or no internet services, or internet is a bit dodgy, we can apply for a deferral or an exemption through the ATO portal. But we're not quite sure of the guidelines on that yet, so that's not going to be an out for people who really do have good internet. Some other things to know about Single Touch Payroll. It does not replace BAS requirements. The wage information still needs to be reported on the BAS as normal each quarter. And the figures on the BAS need to align exactly to what is being reported when you do your pay runs. Information regarding employment termination payments and reportable employer super contributions are sent per pay run. However, fringe benefits tax information will still be sent at the end of the financial year. What Single Touch Payroll does is replace the payment summaries or the old group certificates. All you have to do at the end of the financial year is click a button that says Finalise Single Touch Payroll post 30 June, and the tax office will be aware that everything is finalised. This confirms that you have fully reported the full financial year for every staff member. Employees will be able to access their wage information via their accountant, that's us, by using the portal, or personally by logging on to their personal MyGov account, which is an ATO service for all staff members. There are a few options in relation to reporting single touch payroll. If you are already using payroll software, as long as you are using current payroll systems, all providers will have a single touch payroll function. You just have to set it up. We will cover off on a couple of providers shortly, including Xero and Mile. If you are a micro employer and don't currently use any software, so you're not using a computer of any sort, and you only pay 1 to 4 staff members, you classify as a micro employer. You are still required to comply. You must have some form of payroll solution. It's still compulsory. But software providers are currently building low-cost options for single-touch payroll that will be released prior to the 1st of July. So for those that don't want to use or don't have software, there will be options. Xero, for example, will be releasing, or may have already released, a solution that is $10 per month. It is standalone payroll. It is not part of the bookkeeping system, but it allows you to use an external program. If you need to search for those sort of programs, and we think the market's going to be flooded with them, you can search no-cost or low-cost single-touch payroll solutions on the ATO for a full list and links. And that's being updated as they come on board. So if you don't use an electronic payroll system, you will need to. If you are a micro employer, 1 to 4, the above low-cost solutions will help. Please feel free to contact us or myself about this further if you're in a situation where you don't have a computer program at all, or you're not computer literate and you need assistance. Can you opt in? Yes, you can opt in before the 1st of July. It's compulsory from the 1st of July, but as soon as we get you set up for single touch payroll, it is best that we opt in straight away to make sure everything is working correctly. But it isn't mandatory or compulsory until the 1st of July 2019. What if you make a mistake? Depending on the software used and at the time that has passed since you made the mistake, you may be able to make changes by editing the pay run. If it is a while since you made the mistake or you have already made payments, you can correct it in the next pay run or run an unscheduled pay, providing you're in the same financial year. There's usually a grace period of around 24 hours for you to be able to change the affected pay run. If it's too late, you can perform an unscheduled pay run or simply make the change in the next pay run. So with errors, that's where you might involve the accountant just to see if we can assist you in some way. But what if you pay relatives, closely held staff members? The ATO definition of closely held is an employee who is a non-arm's length employee, and it's considered closely held. This includes a person who is directly related to the entity from which they receive payments. This can include family members or a family business, directors of a company, shareholders, beneficiaries, etc. The ATO will provide an exemption for closely held payees for the 2019-2020 financial year. For these people, STP reporting will commence on the 1st of July 2020 as a compulsory action. But if you are only employing closely held staff members, I would suggest you get it set up now so the process is easy. Don't let it go 12 months. The ATO are considering having quarterly reporting for closely held employees. Remember, closely held is mostly family members. The deferral is due to the ATO recognising different processes are used when paying closely held staff members. Once a quarter calculation and submission may come into line with the VAT statement, but it's a watch this space for those people. Okay, into our first software program, Xero. Xero released their only system for STP, micro employees, that is $10 a month. So that's just been released. That's not for people who currently use Xero. If you're using Xero, setting up STP is very simple. Go to the Employees tab. You'll then see on the top right link for Set Up Single Touch Payroll. Once you click on that, the Seamless Reporting banner will pop up, and you can either read more by clicking Find Out More, remind you later, or click Get Started. So it's simple process of knowing where to click. When you click Get Started, it will step you through checking your organisation settings, and it will provide you with the information required to call the ATO. It is a short phone call that you only need to perform once. It's a one-off setup process. Please note, whoever is to process the pay runs is the best person to be the one to set this up. If there are multiple people, each will have to follow this process to be registered for Single Touch Payroll. We have tried to do this for a number of clients who currently use Xero, and because we are the accountant, the tax office are not expecting us to call. They're expecting the person to call to be the person who runs the payroll each week, each fortnight, or each month. When we've made these calls, the 1300 number, they have generally been relatively quick calls. We're not on hold for 20 minutes. They've been answered within 1 or 2 minutes. And on some occasions, we've been asked to supply evidence as to who we are, and they've asked for DIN numbers off the recent BAS. I'm not sure if they'll be doing that with everyone, but we've probably had 3 or 4 that's asked for that since we've started registering. Processing pay runs, once set up, hasn't changed. This is done through 3 steps. Process pay runs as normal by going to the Pay Employees section. Post pay run. Once posted, you're happy with it, click File, and the information will be automatically sent to the ATO. So the final point 3 on this slide, click File, that's the only thing that you're doing that's additional work. That click File sends it to the tax office, and you're expected to do that either when the pay is done or within 24 hours. But don't forget to do it. MYOB, for those of you in MYOB, note that you must have versions of 2018.2 or higher on MYOB Essentials for this to work. To set up Single Touch Payroll, go to Payroll Command Center, click Payroll Reporting, connect to the ATO, unless already connected. It may prompt you to sign in again. Complete all the following steps. Start, select role, enter company's ABN, your personal details must be the person who processes the pays, notify the ATO, unless already done, save and complete the process. If you're not currently using MYOB, please speak with us so we can assess your needs and guide you through. For businesses not using any software, we're unlikely to guide you to MYOB. We're probably going to lead you towards Xero. But again, we expect MYOB will have a micro product of around $10 per month. Like Xero, processing pay runs in MYOB won't change too much. For 3 easy steps. Process pay run as you do currently. Once finalised, MYOB will automatically send this to the ATO. Keep an eye on ATO response bar in order to ensure these have been successful. So there's no extra work within MYOB. You're not clicking on a file button. It's just going to happen automatically, but you need to make sure the ATO have got it and they've accepted it. How easy was that? All within our 15-minute timeline. So that concludes what you need to know. It is a big change, but it's a very simple process. I'm happy to take any questions that you might have. I'll read them out and see if we can answer them in just a moment. So one of the questions here, is there any transitional relief for micro-employees? The answer is yes, there are, because you had 12 months to get this right. So you get an extra 12 months. You could leave it go the 12 months, but I would think that while it's fresh on your mind and it's making headlines, probably try and get it set up now rather than later. Another question was, can tax agents report Single Touch Payroll through the tax agent portal on behalf of their clients? The answer is no. We can't do that. So there's no process for us as your tax agent to report it on the tax agent portal. It has to be linked to your payroll package, or you buy one of these cheaper versions where they'll be around about $10 per month. There are some that are dearer than that, up around $20 per month, which you can run on a phone, but you're still going to need to have all the information about each staff member. the old days of paying people manually, working it out manually, or even getting to the end of the year and working out what your wages are going to be, they are gone. The tax office expect to know live who you're paying and how much you're paying. If we could do it on the portal, we would. What becomes more important is tax planning, because we can see what your payroll is live that you've paid to each person up until, let's say, the end of May. We can then work out what your profits are and what you might want to pay as a bonus to you or to the owner, or a director's fee, or something else that we want to change the mix between payroll and profit. And that's, so I think going forward, when this is live next year, I think a review prior to June 30 is going to be more critical for most business people. So any more questions, feel free to type them up. If you decide to introduce a payroll solution and then you want to go full bookkeeping, we can upgrade you on the same software quite seamlessly. One of the questions was, is QuickBooks supporting Single Touch Payroll? Yes, they are. We didn't cover off on QuickBooks. We have very few clients using QuickBooks. A number of small businesses. It's generally not one of our favourite packages, and I know there's some clients who may be on this webinar that love it, but it's probably the third most used package, or fourth most used in Australia. In America, it's quite large. You can certainly, when you use QuickBooks regularly, you can see the Americanisms in it. But they do have a software solution as well. If you want more information on QuickBooks and how you adapt to Single Touch Payroll, send through an email. You'll see on the last slide there. If you send an email through to conference@rjsanderson.com.au, we will send you something on Single Touch Payroll for QuickBooks users. So I've got a question here that says, if we have 3 user profiles for the same company in MyOb, do we need to set up Single Touch Payroll for each profile? No, you don't need to set up 3 profiles. You just need to set up Single Touch Payroll once. And whoever runs the pay, they will be able to make sure they follow the process and it will work. So it's a one-off process with MyOb, with the tax office and setting it up. Another question here, we currently use Cashflow Manager. Is it worth staying with them or change to Xero or MyOb? We're only a micro employer. It's quite possible you took up Cashflow Manager because RJS may have recommended it, because we thought they were the bee's knees for many, many years, and Cashflow Manager were. Technology has advanced. They stopped spending money on development and they fell a long way behind other organisations. Xero hit the ground with lots of technology, lots of innovation, and MyOb was the leaders for a long time and are now trying to catch up to Xero. I think that you should probably move to Xero. I don't think Cashflow Manager is going to be compliant, but I'm not 100% sure. Probably, Kat thinks it will be compliant. I'd have very few clients using Cashflow Manager these days, but there's a number of things that Xero does well ahead of Cashflow Manager that will make your life more efficient, and ours easier as well. Question here is, if we make a mistake through Single Touch Payroll, can you fix it in the next pay run? The answer is yes, you can. If you've already filed the pay, so you did the pay, you filed it, and you realise, whoops, there was a mistake, you can fix it in the next pay run. So that's quite possible. Another question here is, how to report for self-employed with irregular income, e.g. construction workers? So here's a good question. If you're self-employed, you're not actually on wages unless you've got a company or a trust. And if you are on wages, so you own the business, you're going to have to change the way you do things. So some business owners who own companies and trusts, they just take money out of the business to pay food and living expenses, at the end of the quarter try and work out how much they took out and run payroll. That is not going to work. A business bank account is not meant to be used for personal expenses. You're probably going to need to try and get a figure that you're going to pay weekly, fortnightly or monthly and process that figure. And if you're going to take some and move the money into your personal bank account and pay your personal costs from there. But if you have a variable income, so you don't know what you're going to earn until you've got to the end of the week, so it's not a fixed pay, and it might depend on how much is in the bank account and whether that's weekly, fortnightly, monthly, you would still run a payroll in MyOb or Xero based on the amount of money that's going to be wages, and the tax office will know about that. So what I would stop doing is paying any personal cost out of the business. The question has been, how will the end of financial year be different? Well, the difference will be that you'll no longer issue pay-as-you-go summaries or group certificates. They're going to be live, and the staff member is going to get access to that on their MyGov account. The accountants are going to get access to that on their tax agent portal. So mailing or issuing pay-as-you-go summaries or group certificates will no longer exist. Paying cash wages, for any of you out there who are paying cash wages, that is a thing of the past. You won't be doing that anymore. It's just not possible to do. Question here is, can we get a copy of the slide MyOb setup instructions? Yes, this presentation will be on our website within 48 hours, I'll say. I don't want to put too much pressure on the team. It will be on our website fairly soon, and if you like, we can send out an email to say it's there. Another question here, more a comment maybe. For the benefit of all, the requirement to register for Single Touch Payroll was brought in by the ATO to enable the ATO to track payment of superannuation. If the superannuation and pay-as-you-go withholding is not paid, wages and directors' fees will be made non-deductible for that particular employee or director wages in that month or quarter. And that's correct. So the 100% right, the tax office have done this because they are tracking superannuation, pay-as-you-go, and anything else that they can. Another question, what happens if you make a mistake in MyOb and want to fix it before the next pay run, but it reports automatically? So you can do an out-of-scheduled or non-scheduled pay run, and you can do that in MyOb. And so you can do any non-scheduled pay run, it will then report to the tax office. So they will get the information on the pay run that was incorrect. They'll get information on the pay run that's now a correction. There doesn't seem to be any other questions, so feel free to type any more. You might, if you think of a question, email it through to conference@rjsanderson.com.au. As mentioned, this will be on our website within 48 hours, so you can access it or share it around so people know. It's an easy process. If you don't have all the information in your pay system for all your staff in Xero or MyOb, one of our staff can assist you to do a review to make sure that it's all set up right. There'll probably be a fee involved for that, so just think about it, but I think it's more important that you get it right from day one. Doesn't seem to be any other questions. Okay, there is a question here that I might not have covered off on. There's a director of a company does not take out wages, but income is worked out on profit. How does that come into it? Yeah, good question. So what happened in the past is you, as an owner of the business, a director, you might be just taking a dividend at the end of the year, or as a trust, a distribution. So they're not part of payroll with their dividends or distributions. But if the old system of getting to the end of the year, handwriting or typing up a pay-as-you-go summary and saying, we're going to set your wage at 38,000 this year because your profit was 40, that won't exist, I'm afraid. That's going to require you to run a pay system and disclose to the tax office each time you run a pay system, which could be monthly, what your pay is. And you're going to need to do that through a MyOb or a Xero or a computer package of some sort. So I hope I've covered off on that question. Yes. Can we do it quarterly? Yes. Can you do a pay run quarterly? Yes, you could. I've mentioned weekly, fortnightly, monthly, but you could do it quarterly. No other questions? It seems that we've covered off on all that. Email through if you have any other questions. Thanks for attending our first webinar, and we've got a number planned on a various number of topics over the next this financial year. So any feedback or queries, conference@rjsanderson.com.au. Have a great afternoon, everybody. Thanks for attending. Bye.